You might think breaking a bad habit is about willpower, but your brain tells a different story. Inside the basal ganglia, the striatum establishes habit loops, etched through repetitive actions. These loops involve dopamine, a neurotransmitter that creates a reinforcing feedback cycle. Researchers at MIT found that even when you stop an activity, the basal ganglia can maintain these loops for up to 6 months. The neural pathways remain primed, waiting for the cue to reactivate. Contrary to popular belief, it's not about self-control, it's about ingrained neural circuits hardwired for efficiency. Stress isn't just a feeling, it biologically alters your brain's wiring. Cortisol, the stress hormone, floods your system and impacts the hippocampus, crucial for memory formation. In just 2 weeks of chronic stress, dendrite density in the hippocampus can decrease by up to 30%, according to a study from Rockefeller University. This structural change impairs your ability to form new memories, making it difficult to learn from past mistakes and break free from habitual patterns. The myth of stress as merely psychological overlooks the tangible neural restructuring occurring within your brain. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making, faces suppression when you're anxious. Anxiety activates the amygdala, which then hijacks this higher-order thinking area through increased neural connectivity. A 2019 study published in Nature Communications revealed that heightened amygdala prefrontal connectivity leads to poor impulse control and decision-making, a cycle that reinforces bad habits. This isn't about ignoring anxiety. It's about understanding how it shifts the balance of power within the brain's regions, prioritizing emotional responses over rational thought. The brain physically prioritizes survival circuits over long-term planning. Memory isn't just stored information. It's a dynamic network constantly reshaped by experience. Habit formation relies heavily on procedural memory, a type of memory encoded in the cerebellum and basal ganglia. Unlike declarative memory, which you can consciously recall, procedural memory operates below conscious awareness. UC Berkeley researchers found that procedural memories can solidify within 30 days of repeated actions. This subconscious rehearsal strengthens synaptic connections, making habits resistant to change. Your brain's design for efficiency means once a procedural memory is established, breaking it requires disrupting deeply entrenched circuits. Emotions amplify habit formation through dopamine signaling. When you experience a reward, dopamine floods the nucleus accumbens, reinforcing the action that led to the reward. This is not just a feel-good mechanism, it's a biological imperative. A 2020 study in Science highlighted that dopamine receptor density can decrease with habit repetition, requiring more stimulation for the same reward sensation. This decrease is particularly pronounced in the ventral striatum, driving the habitual pursuit of behaviors that once provided satisfaction. The brain's reward system adapts to maximize efficiency, making it harder to break free. Cortisol doesn't just stress you out, it reshapes your brain. In the hippocampus, cortisol reduces dendrite density, impairing synaptic transmission. This structural alteration hampers your ability to encode and retrieve memories, making you more reliant on habitual responses. Research from the University of California shows that high cortisol levels can lead to a 25% reduction in hippocampal volume over prolonged periods. This physical shrinking of memory centers reinforces automatic, habit-driven behaviors as your brain defaults to less effortful processes. It's not just stress, it's a rewiring that favors ingrained patterns over adaptive change. Amygdala prefrontal connectivity is a key player in your brain's habit mechanics. Hyperactivation of the amygdala under stress increases its influence over the prefrontal cortex. A study from Stanford University demonstrated that this increased connectivity can strengthen maladaptive habits by prioritizing emotional responses. The neural pathways between these regions become more efficient, making it easier for emotional cues to trigger habitual behavior. It's a feedback loop where stress conditions make the amygdala's connections to decision-making circuits more dominant, locking you into patterns that are hard to break. Dopamine receptor downregulation is a biochemical barrier to breaking habits. Chronic exposure to rewarding stimuli leads to fewer dopamine receptors in the brain. Research published in the journal Neuron found that this downregulation occurs in the ventral tegmental area, altering your brain's reward circuitry. With fewer receptors, the same reward triggers diminished satisfaction, encouraging repetitive behaviors in search of that initial high. Your brain's attempt to maintain balance makes it increasingly difficult to abandon established habits, as it adjusts to require more stimulation for the same dopamine release. The basal ganglia encode habits at a cellular level. Within this brain region, habit loops are formed through repetitive actions that become hardwired. When a habit is initiated, the basal ganglia streamline processes for efficiency. Research at Duke University revealed that even when consciously trying to change a habit, these loops persist due to the basal ganglia's role in automation. The synaptic changes solidify pathways, making deviation from the norm challenging. It's a neural commitment to efficiency, ensuring that once a pattern is established, it's difficult to dismantle without significant effort. Default Mode Network (DMN) activity plays a surprising role in habit formation. This network, active during rest and mind wandering, interacts with brain regions tied to self-referential thoughts. A study in the journal PNAS found that heightened DMN activity can intensify habitual thinking by reinforcing self-focused narratives. This self-referential loop strengthens the neural basis of habits, making them feel like an integral part of identity. By embedding habits within the DMN's narrative framework, your brain makes them resilient to change. The DMN provides a cognitive backdrop that perpetuates habitual patterns well beyond conscious intention. Chronic stress differs fundamentally from acute stress. While acute stress can enhance focus temporarily, chronic stress wreaks havoc on your neural architecture. A study from the University of Wisconsin showed that prolonged stress exposure enlarges the amygdala by increasing neuron numbers. This structural change amplifies emotional responses, making it easier for stress to trigger habitual behaviors. Unlike acute stress, which resolves quickly, chronic stress becomes embedded in your brain's circuits. This embedded nature ensures that stress-induced habits become persistent, as your brain is continually primed for a fight-or-flight response. The self-help industry's quick fixes often overlook peer-reviewed neuroscience. While advice may focus on willpower, brain imaging studies reveal a different story. Functional MRI scans from Harvard University show that habitual cues activate brain regions associated with automaticity, not conscious choice. These scans highlight that efforts to change habits must address the brain's automatic processes. The misconception that habits are purely psychological ignores the biological underpinnings that make them resilient. It's not just about thinking differently. It's about altering the neural pathways that drive behavior. Brain imaging studies reveal that common tactics to break habits often fail due to entrenched neural pathways. A 2021 study in NeuroImage found that even when people are motivated, the brain's habit circuits remain active during decision-making tasks. The striatum, a core component of the basal ganglia, shows persistent activation, suggesting that motivation alone isn't enough to override ingrained patterns. This neural activity underscores that breaking habits requires more than intention. It demands altering the circuits that have become default pathways in your brain. Habit resilience isn't just personal failure, it's a testament to your brain's efficiency. Even when attempts to change habits falter, your brain is doing exactly what it was designed for, conserving energy by automating processes. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, works both for and against you. A 2018 study in Nature Neuroscience highlights that while new habits can form, breaking old ones requires disrupting well-established circuits. It's a biological challenge, not a lack of effort, that makes habit change difficult. The very mechanisms that optimize your brain also create barriers to breaking habits. Long-term studies highlight how habit resilience can be both a strength and a vulnerability. Research from King's College London, following participants for over a decade, found that 80% of habits persisted across significant life changes. This persistence isn't just stubbornness, it's a reflection of deeply embedded neural networks. However, this resilience also means that positive habits can become just as ingrained. The same neural mechanisms that make it hard to quit smoking can be harnessed to establish beneficial routines. The brain's capacity for consistency is a double-edged sword, offering both stability and resistance to change.